Hello, and welcome to this month's edition of Deccan Dialogues. In today's episode, Dr. Biksham Gujja and Mr. Mohan Guruswamy discuss the horrendous impact of water pollution, specifically the damage caused to water and environment by the use of plastic. Much of the planet is swimming in discarded plastic, which is harming animal and possibly human health. Can it be cleaned up? Plastic pollution has become one of the most pressing environmental issues, as rapidly increasing production of disposable plastic products overwhelms the world as well as the country. Dr. Gujja is a well-known international scientist and can easily be called the waterman of India. Mohan Guruswamy is a freelance commentator and writer on politics, economy and security, a public intellectual who writes on national and international matters of current interest. Over to both of them.
Biksham, you've been in environment, particularly focused on water, for many years with the World Wildlife Fund, and Wildlife Fund looks at an overview of the environment, the ecology, and water is probably the main component of our environment and ecology. What are we doing to our water? The question. It worries me because I've been reading about plastic contamination of groundwater, river water, lake water, sea water, our food, even our crops now, our fruits are getting plastic contamination. So when does this become a problem which we will tackle seriously and begin to worry about? Since 1950, the world has produced 1.2 billion tons of plastic. And plastics is not something which disintegrates or disappears or goes back into the atmosphere. It stays there forever, and it's the legacy of mankind to the earth. India today is producing about 37 million tons of plastics a year. That means that much plastic we are adding to our topsoil or water, whatever. And that has severe degradation effects on our environment. There is no waterway in India which is not polluted. Actually, if you walk, I was asking Rahul Gandhi the question the other day, that you're walking along the countryside, what do you notice? He said, I notice all the debris and garbage strewn all over. There's plastic bottles everywhere, Haldiram packets everywhere, gutka packets everywhere. Every yard in this big country, he says, that is the first thing you notice. And that is not going to go away. How does government now act on dealing with this? After all, we've got so used to plastic. Everything, life around us is full of plastic. What we buy, a packet of biscuits, comes in plastic. You buy coffee, it comes in a plastic packet. You buy cloth, it comes in toothbrushes, everything comes wrapped in plastic. How do we deal with this infernal material?
I think first, thanks for inviting me. As you said, mine is mainly water, but of course it connects everything else. And when you called, I also looked at some of the available literature. I'm not going into the numbers, etc. One point is, as a positive one, is from December 31st onwards, I think one substantial policy seems to have been on the paper, which will solve the problem or not, but let's also hope that they are reducing the 50 micron. I think the single-use plastics are the main problem, not only here, world over. At least we should start somewhere. I think seems to be increasing to 125 microns. Whether it will solve the problem or not, that's the one. At least the technology-wise, at least first major. Why it is the packages is something close to the 55% of the plastics which we use day to day, which end up in the garbage or on the streets, seems to be one of the biggest, I would say, nuisanceable problems related to plastic. That is not the structural problems are much bigger. At least that's number one. Number two, the India seems to be, at least in the international forums, is a pioneering, at least they are projecting it, because in last UNEP, the India moved the resolution on the plastics one, surprisingly in 2019, which seems to be the kind of the resolution on the plastic. So whether what's happening here may be different, but at an international forum. So the India seems to be aware of it, they seems to be doing. But there are 2-3 components to it which normally the middle class, the elites, they don't understand is the plastic industry is a $50 billion industry in this country. And at the same time, government wants to push it to $130 billion industry by 2027. So there are 2 things going on. It's not that we reached the peak of using the plastics. So there are about 40 lakh people work in the plastic one. In the 10,000 odd units, 30,000 odd units, most of them are very small, either family run or so. So there is a human component of it. The third is that I think we need to be looking at it is like even with all the single-use plastics, the bottled water doesn't come, even though there is, I'm reading the bylaws, etc. I think the bottled water, one of it is, it's like mostly not the poor or at least the upper middle class uses. So at least I would have looked at some sort of a structural issues to people don't need to buy the water, at least increasing the confidence on the municipal water. Yeah.
You know, this argument is that people's livelihoods are dependent on it. 40 lakh people are on it and revenue. Is this higher turnover target desirable? We are 50 billion now. Is 30 billion desirable? Should we be looking at that? One question.
Yeah.
Second question is, every time you raise, for instance, whenever I raise the issue of tobacco, I've been writing about cigarettes and BDs. First question is, but there are 4 million people wrapping BDs in this country. What will happen to them? Poor people. But to every 4 lakh people or 4 million people wrapping BDs, every year you are making 100 million people ill. And you are reducing total life expectancy by 6 years. The future medical costs on this country are going to be, is nothing compared to the taxes you raise. You're not even raising a minuscule amount of that. So we know it is bad for us. We know it is dangerous for us. We know it's causing problems for us. Shouldn't we then act?
That's what exactly. It's like as an environmentalist, I'm not telling. I'm only laying some of the basic facts. One side, the government's bragging about that it is doing in the international forums. The other side, doing in fact, most hidden thing is, in fact, I was shocked at all, that there is a $40 billion industry itself is polluting so much, but they want to, guess what? 3 times they are going to increase by 2027. So whether do they have a kind of an infrastructure to deal with that kind of waste, that's what I mean is that the dichotomy of is one side this, the other side that. And coming to it is like the plastics, the very bottled water which we thought protects from the tap water itself is having the microplastics.
I know.
There is no bottled water today in India because 200 brands have been analyzed some time back. All of them contained certain various degree of microplastics. The bottled water I'm talking. So why I'm coming to the water again and again is that there are number of other ways of getting rid of the plastics. Instead of putting the blame on the citizens only, okay, you carry a bottle, yes, you do carry a bottle, but why do we need to, because we were not having a bottles at all about 20-30 years ago. Where did we end up? I think the simple measures could also, without cutting the economic, one can do it. For example, I was coming in metro. Where do anybody wants to drink water? You have to buy a bottle. Why can't such a large infrastructures cannot have a simple 3 lakh rupees worth of the water treatment plants where a person can go on 5 rupees fill up your bottle. You may be carrying the bottle, but where does the water comes? I mean, bottle means like, recyclable bottle, whatever. So there are number of things in this country is possible,
which we can do,
without displacing people, without adding any agony. Because when you buy the bottled water, why I am coming is that you are not buying the water, you are buying the plastic. The water contains only 10% of it. So, number of measures could be done, and then probably
one of the main issues I see that the growth of plastics, because it's become a low cost alternative. It's very convenient. Packaging is very convenient. We like everything to be packed. We like to think that, this is secure because it's packed. And this is the modern culture. It's cheap. Above all, cheap. One way to prevent, as student of economics, we know that if you put prices and levies increase, you reduce the amount of usage. Must we therefore consider active, because this is easily taxable industry, because there are only 7 basic raw materials, 7 basic plastics, which comprise all our utilities, whether it's buckets or plastic packaging for biscuit packets or gutka or haldiram or whatever. 7 basic raw materials. All of them are produced in 3 or 4 refineries in the country.
Absolutely. The 60% is in the Reliance.
Absolutely. Why can't you tax at that source? Or is it that you are avoiding taxation because Reliance is sitting there?
I mean, I would not get into that, but I think what the taxation also has a certain limitation is that, like for example, we have a sewage tax. So the governments always love the tax because they're all sin taxes, provided they use those tax revenues in addressing those issues rather than putting it somewhere.
True, but you see, higher prices on taxes will make incentivize recycling. After all, it's material which can be recycled. Today, you don't get anything for there is recycling. I'm told that 30% of our plastics are still recycled. Maybe we need to get to 70%. How do you incentivize that? So you get more money. And the guy who collects your plastic rubbish is the lowest in our food chain. He is the migrant and the urban migrant and the foreign migrant who's coming and collecting the stuff and taking it to the dump and selling it and collecting money. So maybe you incentivize him more and he will collect more, and people will be less willing to throw away, collect their own garbage in their home and then sell the plastic.
The government also puts the other argument, or even the middle class, around some 13 kilograms per person. Because this is also another convenient argument for India for everything from climate change, because you have large people. So at a per capita level it may look smaller, but I think in the focused areas it is a much higher than in many areas of it. It's not that we can just divide by 1.4 billion and get rid of it.
An urban Indian upper middle class is consuming as much as their western counterpart. I don't see them consuming less.
That's right. That's one. The other is also geographic concentration also. Most of the plastic is also concentrated in the urban centers. But I think coming back to is that I also read some of the very good innovations are also coming up, particularly in India. One guy from the Madras, he's very well known in the international circles, which I read it outside the World Economic Forum, etc. I believe he has developed the technology which puts the plastic waste in the road laying mechanism, and which I believe the studies, the technical studies is they also make a very good roads, and including potholes, etc. I think we should all use available technical, non-technical, taxation, incentives, disincentives, and citizens' participation.
There are lots of things which can use. But collection of the plastic is your major task.
Correct.
The logistics is there. That if you are able to collect only 30% of your plastic which you dispose, that means you are not collecting 70% and it's going to the earth.
But those studies also indicate that some lowest figure is 30 and some figures are also suggest 70. I don't know which one to believe and where is it going, etc. But we could. The other one is that
the amount of recycled plastic is calculatable. And it is calculated and because it comes into the system again.
But also if the system itself is enlarging, then again it becomes a problem. The other is that even if there is citizens want to recycle it, I mean, you walk on the Hyderabad streets, where do you put anything which is reasonably collected or anything. That's also, of course, these are all the other end of the issues. But
I'm sure you must have seen hundreds of times fellows driving in a car and throwing
it out,
packaging out,
on the roadside,
bottles out,
or many mela, I mean any bigger meetings, etc. But I have 2-3 specific things probably the many metros could do is that this to get away with the bottled water as much as possible by providing alternatives, like wherever is possible filling up the high quality water, and we can also privatize it, because after all the water companies want to sell the water.
I think in many of our larger villages in the country,
absolutely,
there is
absolutely
water treatment plants, and they're selling water in big bottles.
Big bottles, and the technology is I'm sure you must
simple.
have seen. You have like each one of them has like a credit card.
Yeah.
And then you put it, not a single drop falls there. In fact, wherever there's water treatment plant earlier, there used to be a lot of kitchen and all. But now, you take that card and it exactly comes 20 liters of the cake.
I went to a school 4 days ago, the tribal district. In the school, they have a water treatment plant. Every school in Telangana has, in rural school, has got a water treatment plant. And it gives you clean water.
Clean water.
You don't need a card for that. You just go and carry your glass or your bottle and fill up water. So that is feasible. But what do you do about this habit? Throwing garbage out, throwing rubbish out. And do people have to be educated? Or do educated people also have to be educated? After all, a guy who is driving a car, who is dressed well, does he have to be told?
Probably the most difficult task is that somebody who is educated thinks that he don't need to be educated.
I don't think so. I think you got to put a value on
awareness.
I think you got to put an awareness and a value on it. If it's recyclable, when the days when glass bottles were recyclable and you got money, I used to remember when I was studying in the US, we used to go to the supermarket every week with all the milk bottles and Coke bottles and give it there and collect some money for deposit. And the aluminum cans for beer and Coke, we used to get money for it. And you still get it.
Still get it. And also even still in India, I think even newspapers are still, as we speak,
recycled. Newspapers are not wasted. Waste is in printing. But after it's printed, we all sell our newspapers. We all sell our... And the more expensive the magazine, the less you get money for as Raddi paper.
The plastic also, now there is a market and people are collecting. But I think we can look at both sides. But I think India, I also live in, I am one of the richest country. I think India still fascinates me. It's like a lot of plastic is recycled, but we can always blame. But I think the lack of facilities seems to be one of the biggest issue, where to recycle or where to put it. The other one is lack of other alternative. Like for example, go to shop, why can't they give a cloth bag? It won't cost much these days. If they give a cloth bag, probably they will not, nobody is demanding, I only want the plastic bag.
You know, the day the government banned single-use plastics, banned officially with fanfare, the Prime Minister announced that this will no longer be allowed. Next day I noticed there was a political party rally and they were all flying plastic flags. The ruling party. Of course, the other parties also do. And so we are having this blatant disregard of what you say.
And when you say the awareness, now I think maybe the political parties and political level awareness is so low. I mean, you go to any political meeting, I mean, like, where is, I mean, that speaks, that's it, how much plastic or how much garbage they use it.
And this is one kind of inorganic pollution of water. Then there's organic pollution. There is urban sewage, which all goes mercifully. The theory is that somewhere along the line you can still purify the water. But with plastics you can't purify the water.
Absolutely,
It goes. So there's chemical poisoning of water. Hussain Sagar in Hyderabad, classic example. There's no fish in it. Not a single. There's no marine life in it. Not even plants grow in it. The only, and I'm told at the bottom there is about 12 to 15 feet of sludge. Like, because the government at one time decided to clean up the tank, and then they sent divers in and found sludge. How are we going to take this out? How much time, how many years will it take to bulldoze all that out.
Yeah. And also the health hazard of draining it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. It is, you know much better than me, because it's a drinking water.
No, I don't know much better. You know much better than me.
The genesis of the tank, it was a drinking water.
Absolutely.
Now you can't even, I mean, people will die when if you take a bath, probably.
Absolutely.
There's no fish at all.
When I was in Nizam College hostel, on way back to the hostel from Secunderabad, we used to stop in Hussain Sagar, take a dip and go.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
So
it was clean water.
Clean water, I mean, that's one of the biggest is that everything is ending up in the water only, the most of the plastics. If you go
Hyderabad city used to have 400 lakes.
Yeah.
Now there are only 100 something left. And all of them are polluted.
And remaining one are colonies,
Colonies, including Vengalrao Park.
Park. Or even, what's that?
Diskunta,
Masab Tank.
Masab Tank, everything. But now you see this phenomenon in Bangalore of foaming water. There's so much of detergent which is being used, which then starts foaming in the water. And that is something again which you can't destroy.
But now there is a lot of detergents. In India it hasn't come the law. Even the same Procter Gamble's, those who sell, some of the detergents they sell in Europe, they are not being sold in here because we don't have the regulations for the recycling. So there is a, see, I would think that by and large the technology is also catching up in the pollution treatment. It's only mindset, it's also the implementation of it, even though we have law. If you read that, the plastic policy, it's reasonably okay, but who will implement, how do you implement it, who will oversee that, and what penalties are there? There's
I would certainly like to see the GST on plastics, all plastic raw material, double up.
Okay.
You know, not even 36%, maybe at least 50%.
And
because economics tell you that the more expensive it is, the more frugal you are with it.
And also, but alternatives too, because if, I mean, simply the single-use plastics could be eliminated overnight. I mean, that's the idea. From December 31st onwards, the law is going to kick. I don't know whether that 120 micron will solve the problem or not, but they should have also included the shop owners, etc., giving cloth bag or charging for the cloth bag also, or even, so because now they are giving free. Even if you go banana, the guy will give you some, not even 50 microns, it could be even 20-30 microns bag. He'll put you, even if you say don't, because it is so cheap and so affordable. So those kind of a visible polluting things which are ending up immediately on the road can be tackled without damaging the employment, without damaging the livelihoods, etc. So some of these very simple, very effective things can be done very quickly.
But this is shocking in India. It's not a part of our public discourse. We don't talk about it in public. I don't see politicians fighting about it.
And it's not on the election agenda.
It's not on anybody's election agenda. And it's not even in social discourse. It's not part saying that plastic is a problem.
So we have most of the elections with non-problems are being the very big problems, but the day-to-day problems are not at all.
And these are the serious problems.
These are very serious problems. I mean, if even you take single awareness, in fact, I remember in early 2000, I wrote a major global paper on the bottled water. That was the first ever. I looked at, we simply concluded 4 things. It's really kind of shaken the whole industry then. Said there is no additional benefit in the Europe and North America to drink bottled water than the tap water, because bottled water don't have any of the standard, they are not FDA. And most of the people, 80% of the people in Europe now with awareness, they drink tap water, which is better. But we can't say that here because in India because we don't have the confidence, even if they are supplying the good water, we don't have the confidence.
I don't think water is really being treated seriously. You know, the water treatment plant in Hyderabad, the capacities have remained the same for the last 30 years or 40 years. So obviously we are getting a lot of raw water. Sometimes, you know, your water smells.
But we have also other technical measures, because we don't need to treat all the water supplied sorry, I will take back. We may not be able to treat all the water in the taps, but we could also, because this is a wonderful solutions have come in the rural India, which changed the health significantly. This simple RO technology, which is amazing effectiveness, but it is not there in the cities. Even many middle class homes don't know or don't want to invest small things to drink water from the tap, but you add this additional thing which costs about not more than 70,000-80,000, and simply, and I do have it, and everybody, so you can avoid the bottled water.
Not even that much, but there is a problem. RO releases as much water as it purifies. There is almost a 40% of extracted water with impurities which goes out.
Which can be addressed because
further recycled again.
Recycled, and also most of the people, they also want to fix the ppm, which is also lack of awareness. We don't need to be having the ppm because because if you can put 120 to 150, the wastage is significantly reduces.
And then RO systems work. They work. I use an RO system. I've been always using it. But you got to maintain it. You got to keep it clean. You got to.
But we don't have the public RO system, because this is what I was earlier also saying.
No, that's what I was saying.
In Hyderabad, what happens if 1,000 of these wherever people are walking, people will immediately, because we are all really cost sensitive people. If there is a water available and they do carry the bottle, recycled bottle, they fill up where it doesn't cost much.
True.
Like even metros, why are we not insisting that each metro station should have a drinking water facility as a part of it? And then you get rid of many of the plastic bottles people forced to buy and throw it on the track or throw it. So you indirectly solve the other problems by facilitating these kind of measures.
How serious is the problem in a country like India now, water pollution?
It's a very serious problem, extremely serious problem, and the cost of that are being paid by the poorest of the poor through the medical costs. Probably our drinking water, our water pollution is I mean, this I am talking about the known medical issues, like an unknown, like a cancerous, etc., which is nobody has any idea. But the cost of the water pollution far exceeds than if we had treated the water. So that would have been cheapest.
In the floodplains of Yamuna in Delhi, very large, a great portion of Delhi's vegetables and fruits are grown there. And year after year I keep seeing studies that don't eat the spinach here, don't have the vegetables from here, don't have the watermelon. Watermelon absorbs a lot of water, so a lot of it is polluted. And forget about the fish, there's no fish which is edible. But even now we are finding that this is milk.
It's a secondary, tertiary level, it is coming up.
Now this is coming through even wheat and paddy.
Fodder grown on the Musi area, and then you so it will come back to us wherever
it will come back to bite us.
Already it is biting, it will bite even more.
And it has, one might cynically say, it has beneficial effects for the economy, because now you need more medicines, though you live longer, you need more treatment, more prophylactic treatment, more chronic treatment. So I think we are letting ourselves into more and more problems. The incidence of kidney failure is mostly because of water pollution.
And in US, one of the study estimated that every week, each one of them, and probably more, each credit card worth of plastics. That means you take the card that the senator was showing, this is the card, this is what we are swallowing every week.
Absolutely.
Through the microplastics. Why I am emphasizing microplastics is they are more dangerous, we don't even know that they are there. Even including bottled water.
Even cooking vessels.
Bottled water.
Bottled water.
And and any marine fish or even normal freshwater fish, everywhere they come. So it's not that we have any luxury of the time. We need to act. The microplastics are really, because we didn't know until very recently that the plastics only a visible nuisance, but it is a health thing. And right now we are only just scratching the surface or trying to understand the implications, but it will be future. And I believe even if we stop today, the peak of the is going to be in 2100 because we are still putting the plastics into the system. So I think the India, all in all, I think there are a number of measures, and this act is we must welcome whatever it is. I think the implementation should be done from 31st of it, and let's see how many the microns when we buy next time, the shopkeeper, whether he will be looking at it.
Yeah, and this is of course one part of it. The other part of course is the lack of seriousness on treatment of sewage coming out of large commercial areas, industrial areas. We don't seem to be aware of it. We don't seem to put a cess on users.
Right now we do have it, but whether that cess, as I said, whether it's going into that, then the sewage systems are also being affected, because when they designed, there is no idea of the such a large material will enter into the sewage system, because there is no plastic at that time. So now if you go to any sewage system, the most of the system which is clogging is the plastic bottles, plastic thing, and so this is also aggravating to the sewage systems.
So you come back again
to the same
to it, that therefore make it more expensive, and therefore more valuable, therefore you keep it.
Right.
So how to put value to this good which has become so cheap. The other thing I was reading just the other day, one of the most serious problems is cigarette filters.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely. They use a lot of plastic. And there are also microplastics.
And that is a serious problem.
Serious, very serious.
It's considered one of the 7 most.
Yeah, absolutely. And the buds, the earbuds.
Yeah, earbuds. And
straws. And the straws, our bigger lobby, Coca-Cola and other companies lobbied. They have taken out 2 years grace period when 2008 Act came. They said, okay, the straws.
We don't have so much of disposable crockery and cutlery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I've noticed now, increasingly I see tea and coffee being sold in cups, plastic cups, which is not high, but we're getting there. And once we start competing we need to produce 130 million tons of plastics. And we keep those targets, then this consumption will go up.
But I'm also very optimistic, given, for example, I live, and there's no comparison, but in Switzerland I live now, every Saturday we go, there is a Desheteri, is the most important institution in a village, because they're all villages, is Desheteri. Desheteri is a Chattabuttalekkan, Telugu. And the outside of the village,
the dump,
there is a recycling center. And if where I live village, that is the most important institution, and it is you go there, it's a green bottle, you put it in the green, the brown, everything, and the children will come. It is so neat and clean, and I don't know whether all of that it is, but now what they are doing is they are extending the recycling plant within the village. And it is a total, almost like every cardboard is separate. So we don't have the institutions.
It's also difficult to inculcate. I got in my house, I got a bin which is disposable and recyclable. Say vegetative matter. So I told my cook, put all the plastics in this and put all the vegetable leftovers, fruits, food, all in this. It won't be done.
And in addition,
keep putting everything in it, mix it up, saying it's too difficult.
Now that's
I forget.
In fact, I wish I would have that. Then every day people go there and then release. Now somebody added the recycling books. I think instead of now books being thrown, you have a book section. So you keep the books. And
so this really calls for a big movement.
It is movement.
People have to talk about it.
It will come.
Politicians have to take.
And we don't need to wait for politicians, but if upper middle class starts in many of the gated communities, etc., if they already started actually, many of the recycling.
Good. Are you hopeful?
Absolutely, I'm hopeful. I'm eternal optimistic of whatever the India. I mean, I think our own lives are also example. It's not the politics at all. The momentum of this country in itself is that even sheer survival pushes us to take these materials, these measures.
We'll
and
end
one
on that
step at a
hopeful.
time. Huh?
We'll end on that hopeful note
Absolutely.
that things will get
Thanks.
better.
Thanks.